Mike was always really good at telling people, good, bad, or indifferent, how he felt about them. He left me a voicemail that I have.
Hi, Dad. It's me, Mike, your husband. Just calling to say I love you so much. And I want to thank you for being an awesome mom and an awesome wife. And I hope that your day is going well. And I miss you. And I can't wait to come home and see you and our beautiful family. Bye.
Our soldiers train for war, but they don't train for the other side of war. And that's who we were at that point.
Soldiers, they volunteered to serve their country knowing the risks. And even if they're here today, they'd probably still be doing the job because of the sense of commitment, not just to this nation, but also to their teammates. He was a great guy.
We met in Northampton, Massachusetts. My aunt was having a deployment party for my cousin Carrie. She had flown a few of his friends in from around the country, introduced myself, and we were talking and talking and talking. That was it. He just had you laughing constantly. But it was long distance. He was in Germany, and the following year he was going to be deploying to Iraq. Growing up, I really didn't have any knowledge of the military at all. I don't think that the dangers were at the forefront of my mind. And never did he ever tell me what was happening. And they lost people. He always kept that to himself. I mean, he, I think, was more worried about protecting me than anything. He asked me to go to his brother David's wedding. He flew from Iraq, and that was going to be his mid-tour leave. I remember it was his turn to give a speech, and I thought, oh, this is going to be good. I think goofball has been thrown around a couple of times, and so he began by be each other's compass. When things get hard, look to each other for direction. He had me. That's a switch. He had a few switches, I think, from his fun and wanting to make everybody laugh to professional. That night, he was walking me to my room, and he looked at me and he said, I love you. Will you marry me? And I said, let's talk about this in the morning. And so I woke up the next morning and walked out, and I was sitting there and drinking my coffee. And he said, I remember. Will you marry me? I said, yes.
Krista, she changed his life. Suddenly Mike was like, I want a family. I want children with this woman. I want to be a good husband.
Mike's family, they welcomed me with open arms. His father and his oldest brother were Green Berets. His brother David is still serving now, and his sister Abby actually serves too. His grandmother was a WASP. Both of his grandfathers served. You know, it's a family business for sure. He definitely looked up to his dad and his brother. He just talked about all the places they had been and all the things that they had done as Green Berets. So when we got out there to Fort Bragg in North Carolina for the Special Forces qualification course, he had gotten there in August and Michael was born at the end of October. They recycled him in one of the classes because Michael was born and gave him a little bit of time to be with us. You know, that's the amazing part. I think from day one, what we saw in the Special Forces community and in the units, they really do take care of their people and they care about the families. Graduated the Q course as an 18 Bravo, so as a weapons sergeant. He was assigned to Base Lewis McChord out in Washington State. For me, it was hard at first. We got out there, I was pregnant with Gabriel. The household goods were showing up and I was doing that alone. Mike, he was traveling, and in the moment I was like, oh, this is so hard. What are we signing up for? Not coming from a military background myself, it felt like I was drinking out of a fire hose. I was, learning things very fast, and you create your own home and your own family with the loved ones that you have surrounding you.
Kind of from the moment I met Mike, his family kind of became like a second family to me. His wife and Mick, and then when Gabriel was born, You see that relationship he's got with them. That's the dad I want to be to my kids. So yeah, both my wife and I were so close with Krista and Mike throughout that whole Q course that when it came time to graduate and go our different directions, it was still, staying in contact. He was always the easiest person to reach out to and maintain that relationship with.
In Special Forces, you become fast friends with people. There's just that understanding and respect. I think it was January of 2013, we learned Mike was originally going to the Philippines and then they had switched it to Afghanistan. He was thrilled to be going. He was like, this is my chance to put into action all of my training. And this was my first deployment as a married spouse with children. I mean, it was hard being alone in Washington, taking care of 2 kids, but I was also used to being alone. I think that was part of the reason why that I didn't feel as heavy about the deployment. I felt much more at peace than any of the other spouses, which ironically, I'm the one who lost him.
So that was the spring of 2013. We were both deploying to Afghanistan same time, and Mike, as he was deploying into Afghanistan, my company, we were going to Germany to do our kind of final pre-mission training for our deployment.
We went to Karabakh in eastern Afghanistan. Mike was assigned to our detachment for the deployment, and we became fast friends. He always wanted to make sure that everybody was laughing, but you knew he was passionate about his job. First one in, last one out, always there to move a box, always there to lend a hand. Those are things he liked to do. Iraq was on the downslope, and it seemed like Afghanistan was really ramping up. The IED threat, the influx of foreign fighters, just a lot of stuff was happening. The Special Forces guys were inserting themselves into villages to help guard this main road of travel around Afghanistan. The guys would go out on missions sometimes, and my boss would leave me behind. There would be me and like 2 other Americans on this base. There's very few of us that had any combat experience, so I think my boss at the time was leveraging my understanding of the battlefield to be like, okay, if something happens, I know you know how to get these guys out of here. From what I was told, they were out on patrol. We used to use the ATVs to kind of support our larger armored vehicles. They'd finished what they were doing and they were coming back. I was outside back at the base and I heard an explosion. The explosion goes off and you hear where it comes from, and I looked over and you can see the smoke cloud 2 kilometers away. Immediately ran to the operations center to see what it was, and then you hear over the radio they're calling in a medevac, and they gave Mike's roster number. He had been riding along. He had hit the IED there, the improvised explosive device. He had tried to put a tourniquet on his leg, and then I don't know if he did it, succeeded or not, but then Christopher Boynton, one of the EOD techs that was attached to our team, ran right into the blast zone and then started treating Mike right there. Even though Christopher Boynton was not a Green Beret, he was the bomb tech, that shared struggle, it's incredible the bonds that you build quickly with these people. The one thing I really, really remember is the guys were coming in and you could just see their faces. And I just remember CJ Alvarez just coming up to me and just grabbing me, giving me the biggest bear hug. And we just sat there for like 5 minutes.
My phone rang. And it was Major Alden, who was the company commander. And he asked me if I was home. And I said, yep, I'm home. I just put Gabriel down for a nap, and I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think anything was wrong. I don't know why. I just didn't. He told me that Mike had been in an accident and he was in critical condition, but he was alive. I just felt like shock was gonna set in, and I was afraid that I would forget what he was saying. I ran across the street to my neighbor's house, and I was trying to explain to him that he had talked to her, and I don't even know if I waited until she was off the phone before I walked outside. pavement was cold, and I had bare feet. And when I tell this part of the story, the bottoms of my feet still get cold. And then my amazing neighbors, Angie and Alan, were out in their driveway, and they were in Hughes military. And I think they saw me in the next driveway, and I must have been walking towards them. And they knew immediately. I just fell to my knees.